These are the answers to exercise 11.6. Now, before we get started, the exercise gives us or reminds us of the formula that we found in the previous exercise. This formula represents the sum of the interior angles of a polygon. So if our polygon has any number of sides represented by n, we can just substitute that number into the formula, and that will give us the sum of the interior angles. And then also we have this formula, which gives us the value for each interior angle of a regular polygon. So once again, if our polygon has a number of sides, a certain number of sides represented by n, we can simply substitute in the value, and that would give us the size of each of the angles of a regular polygon. Now we start with question 1. It says determine the sum of the interior angles of polygon with n sides. So here's our formula. So what we're going to do is just to simply substitute in. This one has 7 sides, so I'm going to say 7 minus 2 times by 180 degrees. And if I then have 7 minus 2 gives me 5 times by 180 degrees. And then if I put that on the calculator, I just have 5 times 180, and this will give me 900. So the answer is therefore 900 degrees. Now for B, once again, the same question. So all the question ones are the same. They just change the number of sides. So once again, I have my formula, and in this case, we've got 10 sides. Substitute in 10 times by 180 degrees. So this gives me 8 times 180 degrees. And if I use my calculator, then 8 times 180 is equal to 1440. So this is 1440 degrees. Then for C, the sum of the interior angle of polygon with 24 sides. So my formula, so I say 24 minus 2 times by 180 degrees. And this is then 22 times by 180 degrees. So then, using the calculator, 22 times by 180 is equal to 3960. So 3960 degrees. And then D, the sides of interior angles of a polygon with n sides. So this is actually the answer, because it's just simply, if you've got n sides, then this is the formula you use. Right, now for question 2. Determine the size of the interior angles of a regular polygon with 9 sides. So in this case, we want separate the one, what would be the size of one of the angles. So this was the formula that we know how to use, and if we have 9 sides, we simply substitute in 9 for these n values. So I say 9 minus 2 times by 180 degrees over 9. And I can just put it in the calculator just like that. So I'm going to say, got my brackets, and then very important, in brackets, well, the first one was the fraction. In brackets, I say 9 minus 2. I could just say 7 times by 180 over 9. 140. So those angles will each be 140 degrees. Right, B. Now we have one with 15 sides, where we want to find the size of the interior angles. Once again, we have our formula, and we're going to substitute in 15 in place of these two ends. So we've got 15 minus 2 times by 180 degrees over 15. And then this will give us, so we have our fraction. So 15 minus 2 is just 13. So times by 180. Let's just put our fractions in first. So that's 13 times by 180 over 15, and this gives us 156. So 156 degrees. Then for C, 20 sides now. So we just substitute in 20 minus 2 times by 180 degrees over 20 and onto the calculator. So 20 minus 2 is 18, so 18 times by 180 over 20 gives us 162 degrees. And then finally, determine the size of the interior angles of a regular polygon with n sides. So once again, this is just the answer. Question 3. The sum of the interior angles of a polygon is given below. Determine the number of sides of each of the polygon. Right. So in this case, we have our this is the sum of the interior angles. So that means that this is our sum of the interior angles is equal to 180 degrees. So that means we need to, in this case, find out how many sides does it have. So we just equal this to each other, and then we solve for n. So the first thing I'm going to do to get to n, and if you don't know how to do this, you have to recap on your equations, solving for equations. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to get rid of this 180, and I'm going to do that by dividing both sides by 180 degrees. So that this will then cancel on this side, and on this side I'll just be left with n minus 2, and then I can just put on my calculator what is 1080 divided by 180. So this will give me 6, and then I can take the 2 over. So n is equal to 6 plus 2, and then n is equal to 8. Now same for b. This is the sum of the interior angles, so I'm just going to equal it to the formula for the sum of the interior angles with n that's unknown. So now we're just simply going to solve for n. So once again, we start off by dividing both sides by 180 degrees. So n minus 2 is equal to, where these two cancel out, and we put that 1620 divided by 180 gives me 9. So 9, and then n is equal to 9 plus 2, so n is equal to 11. Now for question 3, so this one is then question 3c. Same question. We want to find how many number of sides we've got. So once again, this is the sum of the interior angles, so I can just equal it to my formula in terms of n, 5040, and solve for n once again, divide both sides by 180, and I have n minus 2 is equal to 5040 divided by 180, so that gives me 28. And then n would be equal to 28 plus 2. If I bring the 2 over, it changes sign. So n is then equal to 30 sides. And now finally for question 4, the size of an interior angle of a regular polygon is given. So this is a regular polygon's interior angle. Determine the number of sides of this polygon. So we already have the answer for the interior angle. So once again, we use the formula that gives us the size of the interior angle. So I just once again equal this formula to the answer, because what we don't know is how many sides there are. But we do know a formula for the interior angles of a regular polygon, and we do know what the size is. So now once again we just need to solve for n. So now to start off, when you have a equation and you've got fractions, the first thing you want to do is to get rid of your fractions, and in doing that we multiply each term with our lowest common denominator. In this case it's just n. So in this side I'm just going to cancel. So what I have left here is n minus 2 times by 180. Now, okay, let's just do that for now. And that's 135 n. Okay, so what we want to do now is we've got a n on this side and an n on this side. So I want to get my terms, all my n terms to the one side. But I've got a problem here because there's brackets over here. So I'm going to take this 180, I'm going to write it in front of this bracket, n minus 2 equals to 135 n. I'm not going to write the degrees for now, just to make the equation a bit simpler. So the next thing I'm going to do is just to multiply out my bracket. So this gives me 180 n minus 360 equals to 135 n. Okay, so now I want to get all my n's on the one side and all my constants on the other side. So this term needs to go to the left hand side and this constant term needs to come to the right hand side. So I have 180 n minus 135 n equal to 360. So if I subtract this, I get 180 minus 135, and this gives me 45. So 45 n equals to 360 degrees. And if I divide both sides by 45 to get n on its own, then this should give me 8. So n is then equal to 8. So 8 sides. Now, if you struggled with these steps, there are videos on equations, solving equations, and I'll give them through on the next lesson. Right, so for question 4 then, the size of an interior angle of a regular polygon is given below. Determine the number of sides of these polygons. So once again, our formula for each angle equal to the size of each angle, 156. So I'm just going to go ahead in one step. I'm going to multiply, or just do, well, like we did in the previous question, we multiplied both sides by n. We can also use cross multiplication, where we just take our n up. That's another way of thinking about it, but it is actually just doing the same thing. So I have, and in one step, I'm just going to also multiply in my 180. So I've got 180 n minus 360 equal to 156n. Then I'm taking my n over my variables, all the terms that contain the variable, to the left hand side. Minus 156n equals to 360 degrees. And then if I subtract that, I've got 180 minus 156, and that gives me 24. So 24n equal to 360 degrees, and then I divide both sides by 24. So therefore n is then equal to 360 divided by 24 gives me 15. And then for C, now our interior angle is 174 degrees, so I equal that to 174 degrees. And once again, same procedures as we did, take the n up. So this is then, and I'm going to multiply in the 180, so this is 180 n minus 360 equal to 174 n, and then bring my n terms that contain n to the left hand side. 180 n minus 174 n equals to 360 degrees, and then 180 minus 174, so 180 minus 174 gives me 6. So 6n equals to 360 degrees, and divide both sides by 6, and this will then give me n equal to, so 300 I think is 60 divided by 6 is equal to 60, so 60